Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Inkylesconvo. And I'll give a bit of context in today's guest because he never asked me to, and I never told him I was going to do this. But we've been last year when this Inkylesconvo. Unfortunately, like I explained in the first video back, I was going through a lot. I had a lot of stuff to deal with in business. I never actually told the guest this. I had a lot of stuff I was dealing with, and had to because we all have times where you have to find yourself. And one of the first people I messaged was David Schwartz. But the thing is, though, it's been hard to get him on because this is actually my first guest that's not been from the United Kingdom. He's coming from all the way from California, Bay Area. It's as I said, David Schwartz. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you very much. What time is it there right now?
It is 11:05 a.m.
Yeah, damn, it's 5. Yeah, as you say, 7:05 at night here. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So, as all the viewers and that will know, we've had screenwriters on before because it's something I'm curious about with a project and things like that I'm currently working on it, and I know other people, as you know, if any viewers pay attention to the LinkedIn, there's another writer coming on, and we actually had Dougie Brimson, who wrote Green Street as well. It's crazy. So something I'm curious about with writing and things like that, when I speak to people like yourself, one, you must have this is a double entendre question. One, you must have a crazy ability to concentrate, and two, how do you manage to sit down for ages and write? Before we get into your history, how do you manage to sit down for ages and write? Because that's that's a lot of concentration.
Oh, well, absolutely. I think when it comes to writing, I mean, there is a time where you have to put time aside and actually dedicate at least an hour or two to writing.
Mm.
And that's something I had to kind of learn the hard way when I first took screenwriting. When I was back when I first was learning screenwriting, I didn't realize how long it takes to actually sit down and actually start writing your film, because you have to map things out, because sometimes life gets in the way sometimes when the writing doesn't get done. So I mean, you have to dedicate time to writing, and we're all busy doing our own things too, but sometimes what I notice sometimes is writers, writing isn't really a full-time job for me sometimes. I mean, what I'm really focused on is when I have the time to write, I focus on, okay, I'll give myself maybe about an hour or two to sit down and just start typing something out, and then that's how I dedicate my time sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm going to attempt to say the college you went to. I don't know. I don't want to pronounce it right, but is it De Anza College?
Correct. Yes, that's where I went.
So good at pronouncing these things like that. But yeah,
don't worry about it. You're fine. You're fine.
So I take it straight after school, or when you were in school, you've kind of always didn't want to do the 9 to 5 thing. You've always been no, I want to do writing. Or was there something else before you did go and get your degree in film and video? What was there? Was there someone else?
Well, I mean, before, I think growing up, I mean, I've always wanted to do something in film. Looking back, I think when I was a kid, I wanted to start as a director and direct films because I was so passionate about films. And then, around, I think, middle school, I wanted to be a cartoonist. And then around high school, I rediscovered my love for film. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I could just be a director and see what happens. But I didn't get passionate about screenwriting until I took a screenwriting course when I was in college. So it's probably maybe a few years ago. I'm trying to remember the exact date, but it's probably a few years ago when I first took my first screenwriting course. And I remember, so I mean, I had to take it for my AA degree. So what I had to do was, so I took one screenwriting course, and and from there I took a few more screenwriting courses, and I really enjoyed those classes a lot because I believe I've grown as a writer. And it's kind of amazing. I've looked at, I still have some projects I've worked from my screenwriting courses. I'm actually working on a project, actually a script that I wrote in a screenwriting course. And I've been working on it endlessly. And what I've been doing with that script is, I've been sending it out to screenwriting contests and getting feedback, and it's amazing how far I've come as a writer. And so that's my love for screenwriting, and of course I've wrote other projects since, and I just right now I do have a few scripts on my plate, and now it's just like when I do have the time, I'll just go back and keep making edits to them and try to get them out there. But at the same time, I do want to help other writers with their scripts and getting their helping them get their scripts made out there in the industry. So
yeah, and something else I'm like I'm curious about where it's kind of like it's kind of like a it is related to what you said, but it's in your career path and that. The Salvation Army, is that the same Salvation Army that we have over here?
Well, when I worked at the Salvation Army, it was a seasonal job. Is like the bell ringers, and it's usually during the holiday season. So like I think it starts after Thanksgiving and it goes up to Christmas Eve, and that's when I worked and got a little money. So that was actually shortly after high school when I did the Salvation Army, and I was in college taking a film class. So I was taking one class in college, so I was able to have time to do the bell ringing and the and do my school thing. So that's So the Salvation Army is the one with the red buckets, and you see people ringing the bells during the holiday season. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how your Salvation Army works. Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Is it like a company that has like the red shield thing?
I'm not sure if it's a red shield. I'll only remember there's like a red bucket, and it's like I think it's like for like a donation, like people can put in like change or money or whatever, and at the end the money goes to like feeding the homeless on during the holidays. So
it's the same kind of company. I was just curious. I was like, I wonder if it's the same company. It maybe is. The viewers are probably like, Kyle, why are you so stupid? But like, I didn't know. You never know. You don't know until you ask. You know what I mean? And then you moved to. I've never actually been to California, so this might be like people that are watching this will definitely know what this is probably. But you went. No, California's Greatest America. Is that like?
That's the theme park in San Jose. That's an amusement park. So it's right near. I'm not sure if you follow American sports, but that's where the 49ers play near Levi Stadium. So it's right next door to Levi Stadium. That's where Great America is. And usually when I guess when the park is closed, I guess they use the parking lot for the stadium. So like I mean the theme park is usually open seasonal, so it's like open from I think March until I think maybe late October or maybe early November. I mean it could have changed. It's been a while since I've last worked there, but they so the 49ers stadium, they usually share the same parking lot with the amusement park. So so if the park is closed, they usually share the parking lot with the stadium.
Yeah. Are you a 49ers fan yourself?
No. I know it sounds strange. I'm like I don't really follow sports, but hey, whatever. I mean I don't follow sports closely. So
I sometimes do. I have an American football team. I'll tell you after the podcast because I think it'd be better not get screamed at by fans. But I have done, but like it was various different teams. But anyway, after that you went to what did you do from then until 2021 when you were kind of like, were you students? Because it, going by like what I've read, is it going by, I think, was there another job you had there or screenwriting or how did that work?
Yeah, that's a good question because after that, so I did the Great America for 2 seasons, and after that I decided to take a few years off and focus on my education. So I took some time off. And then after I graduated from college, I took a little bit of time off. And then it wasn't until around, I think it was September, where someone actually mentioned to me that I should, they're saying to me, how much I like screenwriting and film. And they said to me that I could, start up my own script coverage business. And, and I started doing things for free, just to get the feel of what it would be like to provide scripts and feedback coverage to writers. And then in exchange for testimonials on LinkedIn. And then after that, around early 2020, I started to charge, and then the pandemic hit. And then, every now and then I do get writers who come along who want feedback from me. So, and when I was getting myself out there, I would go into the screenwriting Facebook groups. I would talk about my services, and, some people I got some mixed reviews, but you know what? It's all good. It's all good. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So if someone wants to work with me, cool, great. But, and I guess there are some people skeptical of what I was doing because they thought, they're asking me if I sold things before in the industry. I'm like, no, not really. But, it's a competitive industry to be in. But, I've had some people in the screenwriting groups who I've had as clients, and they really seem to like my feedback. So,
good.
Yeah.
Good. See, when you're putting your services out there, being like a freelance and that, do you feel like you're more entitled to put? I'm not saying you didn't before, but like when to give again a bit of context, is people in businesses in UK that I personally know are, when they work on their business themselves, they put a lot more effort into the ones I know that have businesses and a job. Just again, people would disagree in this, but just from my personal point of view type thing, from what I've seen. So do you think, since you were putting the screenwriting, just doing that as like your full-time job, the freelance and stuff, do you think that's why like a lot of people were like, yeah, obviously I know you've got qualifications like we said, but do you think a lot of people were like, yeah, that's why we're going to trust what this guy has to say and we're going to listen to what he has to say?
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, I mean, that's really up to them to decide who they want to go to really for screenwriting or script consulting. If they want feedback from, my ideal person or client, I should say, is someone who doesn't really care about who they get their feedback from. Because I know there's so many companies. And I'll be honest, while I was running my business, I have worked for other screenwriting companies. I've been a scriptwriter for SWN, which is Screenwriters Network, which is in the UK. So I'm not sure if you've heard of that. I've done that for a little bit, and then after that, I worked for a script coverage company, for another script coverage company for a little bit. So in a way, I do have experience with, providing feedback for writers, and, I'm just really happy to help people out. And actually, I'm really proud of what I do. And, there's going to be some people out there who might not think of me as a professional, but really, it's like, I'm not saying you have to work with me. You can work with whoever you want. There's so many people out there, but I've had experiences where I've submitted my scripts to screenwriting contests, and I know what the real pros in the industry are looking for. So that's kind of what I base my feedback on too when I read a script. So, and I really do want to help writers get their scripts out there, and actually have the scripts made. I can't guarantee 100% the script is going to get made, but at least a few steps towards getting their scripts made is my ideal goal for helping writers out. So
yeah, do you think I'm curious about this question because, again, speaking to people and with me being involved in media and hopefully going to make the move myself, I'm very curious in what you have to say on this one. And it's not, I don't mean like state by state. I mean that, do you think that anybody involved in media and creative industries, as we call it, like it's like media, as in radio, TV, writing, all this sort of stuff. It's called the creative industries over here. So do you think anybody that involved in the creative industries media area is actually has a higher chance of being successful in America over being in the UK? What's your opinion on that one?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. I think it depends. Yeah. That's a tough question right there. I think it depends really on the industry. I mean, here's the thing. I think there's like different studios all over. I'm sure there's like studios in the UK or maybe studios in, versus LA and all that stuff. I think it depends on where you're sending your scripts, and it depends on the studio, because I think it depends on the studio. So, and I mean, I'm sure in a way we're kind of the same. Sometimes we're a little bit different. I mean, there's so many ways you can get a film made besides submitting your script to the film industry. If you wanted to, you can actually, start with making a short film and, get a few people close together and, make a short film yourself and then try submitting it to like film festivals. So that's one way to get a film made. I mean, when I was in college, what I did was, I mean, I had a short film I wrote in screenwriting in a screenwriting course. And then like a year or two later, I was able to bring that short film to life during a film production class. So, and it was nice. And yeah, so I mean, there's so many routes you can take. You can either make it yourself, you can submit it to screenwriting contests, you can look for representation. There's so many routes you can take to get your film made. So
what's it? You're when you were younger. I say that like you're old, but I say that about myself all the time when I was younger, and I'm only 27. But when you were younger, what was your overall goal with getting into screenwriting? Like, I know you said directing and stuff, but was your goal to be like, writing movies for Hollywood, or were you want to do an independent thing? What's your vision? Well, I just say to people, what's your vision for the future? Because
sure.
you never put a timeline on it just in case it comes quicker or not. So you know the deal.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, at a younger age, I mean, I didn't really see myself as a screenwriter. I mean, I really was passionate about just film, and once I discovered my love for screenwriting, it's like, okay, well, maybe one day I could just, write a film and direct. Maybe, I mean, if that's something I'm really passionate about, I can totally see myself. Let's say I wrote a film that I'm really passionate about, I can always see myself directing something I've wrote, because I can't visualize anyone else directing something that I've wrote. And I think when it comes to directing, I mean, a director directing something that I've wrote, that I mean, they have their own vision. They have their own visions about what the script would like. So I mean, a concern I would have is if I had a director directing something I wrote, then like if I was going to watch it, I have like a different visualization for my script. Sorry, I kind of stumbled on that one.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, it's the same thing as like I was saying before about, we, as people will know, we had Doogie Brimson on, who again is quite a famous writer, and he's actually a really famous writer and author. And he said the same thing, like when they were making Green Streaks, we talked about that towards the end, he said that it actually started to go in a different way, because he was just a writer, he wasn't director or producer or nothing like that. So he just wrote it. So he actually stepped back from it. So I mean, I could see what you mean, because they kind of start going in a different direction, and you don't have much of a say. And yeah, it can be a little bit of a pain. But see, like with you having, again, it's all retrospect and that. But with you having been in the California area, were you always born there, or did you move there because obviously the potential that's in like movies and films and stuff? The classic question I'm sure you get.
Right, yeah. No. I've always lived in the Bay Area. I've never moved. One of these days, I think once finances get better, it would be nice for me to live a little bit closer to the film industry, around that area. So when the time comes, so.
How far?
I mean, I'm not sure if I see myself living outside of California. I'll have to see what happens from there.
Yeah, how far away from the film industry do you stay?
I'm sorry?
How far away from because I know I've never actually been to like California. I've never been to America, so I don't know it that well, to be honest.
Okay, sure. I live in the Bay Area, so LA. I think that's like probably about 7 hours away or so, if I had to take a guess. So that's like it's pretty far down south. But I think I'm trying to remember about how far. It's about like a 7-hour drive, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Wow. So like, I'm always curious to this. You know how like you get some writers and that are like, oh, I started writing or directing or something like that because I wanted to be behind the scenes. Is that always been, has that been the case with you? Or did you were, if you had the opportunity, obviously, to be like, I know you're on camera now, but you know what I mean, like on camera, and or even
Right.
like acting, or even like being an extra, or you know, like a more forward facing role, if you get me. You know, would you do
Right.
that, or would you rather be like behind the scenes and acting, behind the scenes and writing? Sorry.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, I don't really see myself as like a full-time actor, but I mean, if I'm writing a script and I'm really passionate about it, I can see myself not only writing and directing this thing, but I can see myself maybe. I mean, every now and then, if I'm passionate about something, I'll write myself a small cameo. And actually, I did a short film in college where I made a brief cameo at the end. So, and if you want me to, I can always share that with you later, some other time if you want me to. If you want to input it into the podcast or something. But I make a very small cameo. But I think with writing a big role, I think the thing for me, acting wise, is just the whole memorization thing. Because my memory, when it comes to memorizing lines, is just I have a hard time remembering things, and I've actually have had some experience where I mean I've done like when I was a kid, and my church would do this nativity scene, and it's kind of funny how I think I had a big part, but I think I remember doing the rehearsals, but whenever I was on stage, I would forget my lines automatically. It's like I kept like drawing blanks. So I guess the whole memorization thing is, I mean, I feel like if I was a bit more skilled with the acting part, I mean, here's what I'll do. I'll give myself a few lines in my films. Like if I want to write myself a role, I'll just give myself maybe like a line or two, and then I'll just leave it at that. But other than that, I mean, I wouldn't mind having any like appearances where I just have like a walk on role or anything. So that's something I would be open to doing. But
So like, have you like obviously right? Because I know you have your own consulting company and that, but would you ever take the step to maybe like producing your own film or TV series or something like that? As in maybe not even like, again, to give a little bit of context, because that can be taken in the broad spectrum for like TV and that. I don't even necessarily mean that. I mean like maybe having like a subscription service, so like people pay to watch your, you know, films or TV series or something. Not like a like kind of like a Netflix structure. So Netflix have Netflix on. Would you ever like to do something like that on like, you know, I'm not shouting at any companies because you didn't pay me to say the names, but everybody will know what I'm talking about.
that's all right. That's all right. It's all good. Maybe I'm not quite too sure about that right now. That might be maybe. I haven't really fully decided on that yet.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if the opportunity will come, like if Netflix, if they're watching, I'm just kidding. If Netflix were to, say, hey, we like to have your film. I mean, I don't really see myself writing television shows because that's like a different narrative compared to film. And I think it's the structure that's a little bit different. But like if I had the opportunity to write a film for Netflix, or let's say I was able to sell film to Netflix, I would be open to that. But I would also, I think with streaming, I mean, streaming is kind of different because I'm not sure how they do at the box office because that's kind of different. I mean, I like to see, my films, mainly in theaters, but I'll take whatever opportunities come to me. Like if Netflix was interested in a film I wrote, then I'd definitely be like, I mean, I wouldn't turn down the offer, but if
What
that
about,
opportunity comes around, if that opportunity comes along, I'll take it.
I was meaning more, I should have gave a little bit more context on that. I was using them as an example. So for example, would you
Oh,
create like a David Schwartz, we'll just call it
I'll like
David
my own
Schwartz
streaming
Media?
service.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning. Because
I apologize.
no, it's all
I
good.
didn't.
The reason I said that is because I know a couple of people, and again, they'll know who they are, but even though they're friends, they told me not to mention their names because obviously they're trying to build like a background and then they're going to blow it up and then they want me to say it. But anyway, that's what one of them's doing. He's doing well, they are doing two of them actually, I should say, are doing like they're making up their own films and TV series, and then they're going to have them as episodes and then release trailers onto an Instagram page. And then you'll obviously pay to get in to view them. It's not as if I'm breaking their secret. Loads of people do it. But that's what they're wanting to do. Would you ever do anything like that, so people could maybe have access to your? So you've got examples of your stuff.
Maybe. I mean, I would be open to that if the opportunity came along. But I think my main focus really would be, I mean, outside of script consulting, like if I were to have the opportunity to like, well, first what I would need to do is have a few scripts. I mean, at least have a few things be made first professionally in the industry. And then see what happens from there. So I mean, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, it just always seems like something that anybody who wants to get involved in media. Because it's fair enough being on YouTube and that, but it never really cut. It's harder to do that than actual subscription service that follows your business. It's just an idea. I just thought I'd mention it to you. But the see, like obviously you've got like film festivals and things like that. Have you ever submitted any of your scripts to any film festivals before? I know you said competitions, but did you mean competitions as in film festivals?
Well, I mean, I submitted my scripts. I mean, I submitted my scripts to screenwriting contests. Like I submitted my scripts to Blue Cat, Screencraft, and they do a few different genres. So I submitted myself to those contests. I submitted my script to, let's see, I'm trying to think. I think Short Scripts and maybe a few others. I can't remember, but I do remember I have submitted a short film to some festivals in the Bay Area before, and that's a while ago. And I think one of them, I think with the short film I made when I was in college, I think that made it through a few rounds, but I think my film was rejected a week before they announced the films that were going to be part of the film festival. So I think there's one was held in San Francisco, and I think there's one that was held in San Jose. So something like that. But I'm just happy that people were able to watch my film. So I mean, as long as I can get myself out there, that's what's important.
Yeah, making a name for yourself in that as well. Do you see when it comes to writing and that, and because it's even like podcasting and that, I feel like myself, it's a tough industry. There's a lot of people doing it. You have to have a niche. You have to have that one thing about you. So like, what is your niche? Like, what's your niche you write for? So if you could give us an example of maybe like a couple of scripts that you've done or something like that.
That's a good question. That's a very good question, because when I write I've wrote so many genres. I've wrote comedies, I've wrote dramas. Let's see, I'm actually working on a murder mystery film. So all my genres are out there. So I think if I were to narrow it down to one genre or one specific niche, I would like to do a mixture of comedies and dramas. And I feel like, I think it depends on the film idea I have. Sometimes I have the best ideas in my mind. It depends on the film idea. So I'm pretty much open to writing any genre. I mean, as long as I know the topic, manner at hand, as long as I know about what the topic is, I'm able to write it, then it's like, okay, I can totally see this happening. But
yeah, I was curious about that when we first got connected as well, because like screenwriting, as I said to everybody, and people that know me outside of the podcast world, as I say it, will know I'm quite a writer myself. Except I write books. I've got a book. I'll speak to you about that later on, obviously, or at some point in the near future. But what's the reason? Like, you're saying you write scripts, so like, obviously it's different from a book. I'm not that stupid, but
no, I don't think you are. I don't think you are.
I appreciate that. It's not like I just had to think of the question I said there. I was like, wait a minute, this is going to come out the complete wrong way, and everybody will be like, Kyle, come on. But like, what I was meaning was, would you ever like consider moving from script writing or not even moving for it, like doing that alongside like books, because you'd maybe be able to like get something wrote, because like you're saying you're trying to get your film done, so maybe like writing it in a book and then submitting it that way. Is that something you've ever thought of, or maybe you're working on?
No, I mean, I haven't really considered book writing at all because I think that's like a different narrative, and I mean, it's a different story structure. And I think writing books, personally, I think it takes a lot of time and effort to put in, and I think compared to screenwriting, I think screenwriting is easier than writing a book. But there are people who write books who would say that writing a book is easier than screenwriting. So, I mean that it all depends really. So for me, I mean, I consider myself as a screenwriter. I don't see myself writing books. So, and I enjoy films. So
Yeah, I think because as you're saying, it is a different narrative. But would you say like would you say because I know you're a writer, like we've obviously discussed in that stuff tonight or this morning. But would you say like do you have like have you ever done any like editing skills, or like have you ever actually, when you're like, for example, do you know how to like produce and that? So if you had the opportunity, like say money came along, would you be able to, like, if someone was like, I don't know, here's X amount of money, you go and write, produce and edit something yourself and then let me see, for example, or would you outsource that to somebody?
I mean, I don't really see myself editing someone's scripts. I mean, sometimes when I read someone's scripts, what I do is like, if I think something needs to be taken out, I'll just make a marking of the script. But I mean, if someone wanted me to edit the script for them, that would be a little bit longer for me to do. And I think everyone uses like different screenwriting software. So I can make corrections on it. I mean, if someone wanted me to make corrections on their page for them, I mean, I'm sure I can go through and I can talk to them about, I can look through the script and see if there's anything, I'm sure I can mark up their page for them if they wanted me to. That's something I would consider doing. I would have to talk to them first and see, what they need help on, and maybe they have like a specific question about the script, and that's something I can talk to them about and see how I can best help them out. But
What about like
yeah.
video editing skills? Are you good?
Oh, video editing. I thought you meant script editing.
Oh no, I meant both of them. Both of them. I was just wanting to hear what you had to say.
Okay. Well, okay. So that was script editing. Video editing, I think. And again, I think it depends. I mean, if someone wanted me to edit their film, I mean, that's not. I mean, I think again, it depends on what they're working on. If they're working on a film, it would take much longer. But if it's like let's say they're working on a 5-minute short film and they wanted me to edit it. I mean, one, am I gonna get like credits for like editing their film? I mean, I don't. I mean, I have the technology, but I mean, I have the software. I have iMovie, so my editing is kind of basic. So I mean, I can show them. I mean, maybe. It depends. I mean, if someone wanted me to edit their film, I could. I would have to talk to them about it and see, and learn more about them. But I mean, my main focus is really on screenwriting versus any other parts of the film industry. So, but yeah.
I'm curious as well, just before we change, because as I said to you before, this and everybody knows there's certain questions I like to ask people that are like, there's a few, but I'm curious as well, and it's quite a good note to end this topic on. What's if you had to say the most famous screenwriter, or well, we'll say a handful so you don't upset anybody. Who would you say is the most like famous screenwriter you've met or that right now?
I've never met any famous screenwriters. And here's what I'll do. Actually, not many people know this, and I'll just here's the thing. I'll just keep this person's name confidential, but I do have someone. I have a cousin that was a writer for television, so that's all I'm gonna say. So he wrote for some television shows a long time ago. So I think, so that's all I'm gonna say. I don't know why my family wants me to keep his name a secret, but I have a cousin that has wrote for television. So
Oh
and
wow.
that's all I'll say about that. So, but I think he's doing like theater acting now in West Hollywood. So, and I mean, he's wrote blogs for like the Huffington Post, and it's kind of funny when I started my script coverage business, and I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and I tried to add him, but he somehow for some reason denied my request. So it's all good. He's busy. He's got things going on. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, no,
For talking about, I mean, it's not. I mean, I want to say he's like extremely famous, but he's worked for like television, and he's like worked for like soap operas and all that stuff. And and if you want me to, I mean, I could tell you later about who. If you really want to know, I could probably fill in later about who this person is. I just want to keep his identity a little bit of a secret, and just in case someone in my family is watching or listening to this podcast, they're gonna be like, oh, don't say his name, don't say his name. It's like, oh shoot.
yeah, we won't. Don't worry. Yeah, before we move on, thank you for your help and information. I hope it helped somebody. Now, and people will probably be like, "Kyle, you acted like you could have asked this or asked that." Well, the thing is, the questions I asked are actually like questions I was intrigued about, because especially like speaking to writers and getting involved in that sort of stuff, I think to being able to write stuff and being able to like have that nature is transferable to other stuff. Like for example, with the time, with the concentration, with the motivation and things like that. But what would you? I'm sure you would agree. So how do you see when you're like writing a script and like I was saying to you, before the podcast and that, how do you manage to like keep the motivation and keep the drive when you're like, say it's, you're just feeling down and you're like, wow, I just want to get this done. But how do you manage to like, no, I need to sit down and I need to stay and do it? What's your driving factor, sorry?
Well, what drives me the most really is just telling myself, what I like to do is I like to remove all my distractions and say, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to dedicate 1 hour to writing, and I'm just going to write and not worry about anything else. So, I mean, and the best thing I can do is really when I write is I just like to sit down and just focus on writing. And I'm not worrying about making it perfect. I'm not worrying about what other people are going to think of my script, because with that mindset of worrying about what other people are so like, if I'm worried about what other people are going to think about my script, I'm not going to get anything done, because I'm going to just be sitting at my computer and it's being like, okay, well, okay, I'm being so hard on myself, and it's going to show on page. And sometimes if you're writing with the clear mindset and you're just writing it, it's going to easily show to someone else. If you're trying way too hard, I mean, I know there are people sometimes they're still like working on the first 10 pages of the script before they finish, the rest of, their script. And normally what I would tell writers is, you have to be actually disciplined with yourself and say, just enjoy the process of writing. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. Just, write your first draft from start to end, and you can make your corrections later. Because you're going to have endless rewrites over and over, and you're going to be going back through your script, and you're going to be making changes. You might be adding scenes, you might be removing scenes, and so on and so forth. And everyone's going to have an opinion. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: you can't please everybody who's going to read your script or watch your film, because there are films that are made even today where people can be like, okay, I mean, not everyone in the world is going to like your film. So I mean, there are people who, for example, I'll just listen to an example here. There are people who like the movie The Godfather, and there are people like me who, say who cares? I don't, who cares about The Godfather? I could care less about it.
Oh wow.
I know. I know. As Peter Griffin from Family Guy would say, I do not care for The Godfather. I love the money pit. You know what I mean? I know. I made a pop culture reference, but whatever. It's all good. Yeah, I'd like to tell that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good, man. The so with writing and that, and with kind of being a public figure, because obviously you will eventually, your name will be out there, and you always like, it's always worth staying positive. But nowadays we're in a culture and a way that what you post on social media, and people are like, he's asking that question, and I say that every time, but do you think nowadays you need to like watch what you post on social media because it might reflect you? Obviously, because you work for yourself, I'll rephrase this question a little bit. Do you think because you work for your example, you have your own business and things like that, and do you think because people will judge you based on, they'll be like, oh, he said this, so I'm not going to give him this opportunity to do this film, or do you not think that necessarily matters because you should be yourself, or what's your opinion on that one?
I mean, I think with social media, I'm always cautious with what I say, but I do try not to be controversial. I mean, if I have like an opinion about something, I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, I mean, just because I don't like something, but like a film or something, that doesn't mean it's true. It's, I mean, I think everybody has an opinion about something. So, but I mean, I am aware of what I post on social media. I mean, like on Twitter, for example. I mean, I'm just sharing screenwriting tips sometimes, but sometimes I'll talk about my writing journey, and sometimes I'll, you know, like if I see a movie in the theaters, I'll provide a rating of what I think of the film and all that stuff. So I'll just provide like a rating, and I think social media can be, you know, I mean, it depends on social media. It depends. So you just have to be really cautious, and then and just. I mean, if I say something wrong and someone gets offended by something I'll say, I'll immediately take it back.
Hmm.
So you want to be really careful with social media, and I'm always being cautious with what I post, because the last thing I would ever want to do is say something that's going to upset someone. Because if I say something upsetting, I mean, we see this a lot on social media. Someone will say something controversial, and then social media, people will get canceled. I guess we're in cancel culture because people are so sensitive to things. There are people who sometimes they can make like a joke on social media or something, and then people will get triggered by something someone said. And it happens a lot sometimes. But I think it's right now we're in a time where we have to be sensitive about and be extremely cautious with what we post online. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The as I say all the time, every time I ask this question, I should say, is that I do think you should. I also think you should be yourself, because it's just social media is effectively, and it's a great reference I read the other day, as Elon Musk said that, social media is effectively the metaverse. The metaverse is just an extension of yourself. That's all it is. So it's effectively that. So what you are on social media better be the person you are in real life. But yeah, speaking of like jobs and self-employment and things like that, I'm curious as well. We all face obstacles in life, like we all do. Everybody does. Nobody, even if you have, I know a lot of like, again, I won't mention their names, but as I say all the time, but I know a lot of like business owners, wealthy people, wealthy people, and they say themselves, so like, money does not bring you happiness. Like, I still have crazy obstacles, but they're just bigger than yours because you don't have as much money. That's what they say to me, obviously, in the nicest way possible, because it's true. So like, have you ever had to like overcome obstacles? And if you did, how did you manage to like correct them and then use that for the next time the obstacle came, if you get me?
are we talking like writing obstacles, or just say obstacles in general, like with like business, or what? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do all three, all right? We'll do writing, we'll do business, and then we'll do life.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I think with writing, I'll start with the easiest one and work my way up here. So
Mhm.
okay, so writing obstacles, I think, is really. I found myself being critical of myself sometimes. So sometimes I can be a little bit critical and having those creative obstacles, because sometimes I'll have an idea in my head for something I want to write. And then it's like, and then I just keep questioning myself if I can write it or not. But I don't get around to actually giving it a try because I know nothing about the topic, or I think, I have this great idea, but I can't write it. But I think, there's so many obstacles when it comes to writing. I think it depends on the process. Um, I think it's really the pre-production of planning the film out first before actually writing it, because pre-production for any screenwriting thing, if we're working on a new script but you don't know what to write about, that's the first challenge right there. Is okay, what do I want to write about? And then you have to have a good log line, you have to have a good beat sheet, you have to map everything out from start to end and make sure it looks good enough before you get into the first draft. And then there's the writing process, and then you have to figure out, okay, and then once you have all of that mapped out, it's like, okay, now you have to dedicate the time to writing. And that would be kind of like it depends on the film. If it's, I always like to start small and see, I started writing short films before I started writing features. And every now and then I'll work on a short film. And I think short films are easier because, one, there's not a lot of planning you have to do. I mean, you still have to have the structure. You just have to have the beginning, middle, and end, and then start writing from there. With features, you want to be easier on yourself, but I mean, it takes more time, and you have to make sure you have a convincing plot. You want to keep your audience hooked from the beginning all the way through the end. So I mean, that could be like an obstacle, but sometimes life can get in the way sometimes, where like if I'm writing a script or working on a script or something, and like life gets in the way sometimes. It's like balancing life and work, that can be like a challenge too, but it is achievable to do too. With business, an obstacle I really do have is having that steady flow of income coming in. And I think a main obstacle I do have is with networking. So I mean, and what I've been doing is, so each month, me and a few other writers, we do a screenwriters Q&A on Clubhouse, and it's a great way for writers to come up and ask any screenwriting questions, and then I'll have the panel answer questions. And I've been doing that for almost a year. I think we started it last March. I think it could have been April. I'm not quite sure. But when I was doing that, so I figured I would do the screenwriter Q&A, and I figured, okay, it might be a good way for me to gain some clients, meet some new people and connect with other writers. But I mean, and sometimes I get people who are interested in me, and I have a following on Instagram, so that's nice to have. And it's nice that there are people who find the information valuable. But I think it's really about the journey. I think with life in general, really, whenever I'm faced with an obstacle, I think it's about the journey, not the destination. So I mean, I know I can overcome these challenges, but it's something. It's all about the process of running a business, and sometimes I just have to keep pushing myself to say, hey, you know what? I have all these tools I can use to run my business. I've made so many adjustments to what I've had done with business. I mean, I've lowered my prices to make them more easier for writers to because not everyone can afford $500 for like feedback on a feature. So I've lowered my prices a bit, and just I figured once I have a steady income coming in, then later on I can start raising my prices. So that's something I've had an obstacle I have to overcome with business. And then I think with life, I mean, that's a good question, because an obstacle I'm overcoming is just being critical of myself, because if something doesn't go as planned or the way I thought if I put my mind to something and I say, like, if I try something and I say, okay, if something doesn't go my way, or sometimes I usually shut down, and that's something I'm always working on too. I can be so critical of myself, like, and it's like I'll just like easily give up. It's like, okay, I tried this one thing, okay, I'm gonna, and then it didn't go the way I thought it would, I'm gonna shut down. That's usually my main thought process behind that, and that's something I'm still learning to do. It's sometimes I can be a little bit hard on myself, but in a way we're all going through different challenges in life. So I mean, I can't, but if I've learned anything, it's not to it's not to shut down easily. It's like, because I think growing up, I've had this thing where I I just want to get things done quickly before moving on to something else.
Mm. What's
So
that?
it's like I'm just taking the fast route. It's just like, skipping these few spaces just to get to the finish line. But it's I think I'm just rushing through things. So
Yeah, I think that I mean, you're not the only one. Like genuinely, like me myself. If I'm like, I'll fully admit, if I'm like really tired, and that obviously the way the podcasts get edited with a bit at the front, a bit at the start, and then the thumbnail and stuff like that. There's been times where I'm like, wow, that's just not how that's spelled, or that's not how this, or that doesn't make sense, because you're just really tired, and you're like, I just want to get it done. But there does come a step where you're like, no, because the finish line is like, the finish line could be right around the corner, but then you could end up getting like, you can end up tripping and falling, and you don't want to keep tripping and fall. You want to keep an
like,
easy pace to keep moving forward. You know what I mean?
yeah. And sometimes I find myself just like running, and then it's like whenever I jump, like I always feel like I'm always being challenged in some way. Like life is always testing me. The universe is always testing me, and it's like I'm running track and field, and I'm jumping through hurdles, but the hurdles keep getting bigger and bigger, and I can't. And it's like I'm coming near the end, but I can't jump over this really big hurdle. It's like, and which. And when I'm faced with something so challenging, it's like I back out like at the last minute. It's like, no, I can't do this because it's too challenging.
Hmm.
But
Well, it's like, as you're saying that, but is there a reason why? Like, have you maybe like we're going deep into yourself here, but it might help you. But like, is there a reason why you're like that? So like, and to give a context on that, is it because like maybe have you like missed a deadline before, or have you not said something to somebody like you wish like, oh, I wished I'd maybe give this guy my business card? Has there been like a reason why you're like, you're like that, or is it just that's all you've had to be like? You just work hard and move forward and pace, and then you need to take a step back, or like I say, like like I just said, is there like a reason behind that because you've missed a date or something like that? Not like a date with a date, but you know what I mean.
I think it's really just a thought process I have because I just want to get things done.
Mhm.
And I naturally, I'll be honest, I've had jobs where, with script reading, I've previously mentioned that I've worked for 2 script coverage businesses.
Mhm.
And when I was working for SWN, I remember working on a script, and I, I mean, the amounts were different, depending on the payment on. Okay, so I was getting paid based on different amounts based on whatever I had to read, whether it was like a feature or whether it's a short film or a TV pilot or what have you. When I think right near the end is, I was asked to be challenged a little bit more, and they would give me this long assignment and like, okay, you have to do all these things, and we'll give you like, $40 for this assignment. And I said I would take it on, but then after looking at it, I didn't, I felt like I wasn't giving myself a chance to actually do what I say I would do because I felt I was being too challenged because I mean, there's so many things I would have to do. I've like write like a few pages of feedback, and that was something I wasn't used to because I was used to just writing like one page of feedback or something.
Mhm.
Um, but it's I mean, and sometimes when I face this, when I ask for, I mean, to be fair, I did ask for something a little bit bigger, and I asked for it, and they said, "Here you go," and then I said, "Oh, I don't want that anymore."
Mhm.
So looking back on it, I felt like I could have at least gave it an attempt because, I mean, they wanted me to write a synopsis before writing the feedback, and I never wrote a synopsis for anyone's script before, and it was like a feature, so that's such a challenge for me. But I think if I was able to put in the time and effort to at least attempt to write a synopsis and write provide the 2 pages of feedback or whatever they wanted, then I feel like I would have had a better shot. Um, yeah, I think it's just really the fear that comes up because sometimes I worry about that I'm not good enough for what I do. But the reality is, I mean, the way I look at scripts with my business versus working for someone else is completely different. So, looking back, I think now I do have experience to write a synopsis. I've had experiences writing, getting that practice and to write a synopsis for scripts. So
what's just as again, how do you spend, like, say your off time, how you've got like I say off time with business, and I know myself with podcasts and job, college, there's not really such thing, but everybody does have some off time. Like eventually, I can fully admit myself, after training, I usually take half an hour or an hour where I'm like, just relaxing, no check the phone, nothing like that. What would you say is like maybe like well, won't say one because everybody has more than one, but what's your handful of things you do when you've got what people call quote unquote off time?
Well, that's a very good question. During my off time, I like to just go outside and I'll go on walks. During my off time, I'll walk around the neighborhood. Actually, last weekend I did something pretty exciting actually, where I was able to get out of my comfort zone and go on a hike with a few people in a meetup group, and I thought that was very exciting for me, and it was something different, and I think it's I just like to get outside and just get some exercise in. Start going on walks. Sometimes I'll have my downtime where I'll just watch a television show or watch a movie during my downtime. I mean, other than that, I mean, sometimes what I like to do is I like to meditate, during my downtime. So like usually in the evening, sometimes I'll just sit down and I'll meditate. Usually on Tuesday evenings, actually, I take a meditation class. And I find that very calming and relaxing, and it, calms my mind a little bit. So, and it makes me feel good. And, every now and then I'll journal my thoughts, journal about my day and see, how my emotions have been throughout the day. I see, what went well and how can I do better tomorrow, all that stuff. So it's a great way to wind down, relax the mind.
Yeah.
So,
well, I actually don't know how to thank you for your time, because at the end of the day, you're one of the longest. Like I said to everyone, it's partly my fault. Obviously, as I explained to you in June last year, there was like more to it, and obviously you said that's fine and blah blah blah. But there was more to it. But with my downtime, with now I'm back on and we're back on the on the roll, as people would say. I do want to thank you for coming on, and overwhelming the fact that you waited this amount of time as well, because as soon as I sent it, it was maybe like 20-30 minutes later, you were like, yeah, I'd love to come on still, and it was awesome. So yeah, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Oh sure, yeah, no problem. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And what I will say to people is we'll be seeing David again. I'll speak to you on some stuff to that. We'll definitely have you back on again, definitely. Probably maybe
of course, I would love that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It's all good, but I always like to do this to give people because again, you gave me your time, so maybe what's your because there'll be two parts to this question, because you're a little bit different yourself. What's your social medias, for if you want to give them out to people, obviously? And
sure, absolutely. Okay, so my social media, so I'm on, okay, so here's a few social media. So I'm on Twitter, David_S_consult on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm David Schwartz Consulting. And let's see, what else am I on? I do have a Facebook page. I think it's David Schwartz Consulting. If people want to like that page, I don't really post it that often, but I probably should. I mean, every now and then I'll post on there. I have a few likes on there. And actually, I do TikTok, David Schwartz Consulting.
Oh wow!
So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, and on the other side of that question, do you have any do you have a website, or because obviously they'll all be down in the description, but obviously for people that are watching on Spotify, I know, and Apple Podcasts, I know it's a little bit different to find descriptions, but so is there any just purely business related places people can find you?
Oh sure, yeah. If you want to know more about me, you can check out my website, www.davidschwartzconsulting.com.
There we go. And again, David, thank you very much for your time. I'll let you go and enjoy your day, and I'll have to go and eat my dinner and then go to bed soon. It's very weird, overwhelming.
Yes. You enjoy your meal now. You enjoy your relaxing dinner.
Yeah, same to you. And you enjoy your breakfast.
I'll enjoy my lunch or whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, everybody. And as I always say, like, comment, subscribe. Glad to help people, glad to speak to people. And if you ever want to come on the show, you're more than welcome to join me, because I always love learning new skills, and I hope you've learned something from me and learned something from David today. So again, thank you very much, and like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Thank you.